So who am I speaking with?
I'm Steven Bennett. I'm a partner at Jones Day. It's a law firm in New York City.
Hey, Steve, I really loved your presentation about behavioral targeting and specifically industry and federal regulations on that. So for those who don't know, what is behavioral targeting?
Well, in general, when we talk about behavioral advertisement, in part, it's the kind of experience that you see on sites like Amazon, where if you click on a particular product, it may say, if you like this, you'd be interested in something else. But in addition, behavioral advertising can extend across internet sites. And so part of the concern here is gathering of information from one visit to one site and then pop-up ads and advertising and other use of information by other sites.
So the industry has tried to self-regulate in this area, and there's an argument for and against that they have failed, and that's why the federal government has stepped in. So I know there's a ton on this. Just give me a brief outline of what levels of self-regulation and why the federal government's stepping in.
Well, we've really been involved in regulation or the prospect of regulation for more than a decade. The FTC is the lead agency in the area. It has been studying the subject, holding hearings, issuing reports, and in substance, the FTC's concern is that consumers don't really understand the full range of use of information as it's gathered by internet sites, and has suggested that there's a need for specific disclosures. And the question has become, well, should that set of disclosure rules be something that's mandated by the government or something that industry itself develops in the way of self-regulatory principles? And over the last 5, 6, 7 years, there has been very significant effort by the industry itself to develop a set of self-regulatory principles that have to do with disclosure on the use of the information so the consumers can make choices.
But why is the federal government stepping in? I mean, it feels like, for example, we talked about, these privacy statements, which absolutely no one ever reads. So the hope to simplify it, self-regulating, and then also this attempt of a do not track list, which who knows if that's ever going to go through. Why is the federal government stepping in, and what actually advances have they made and can they make?
Well, you've sort of put your finger on the central concern. If consumers are not spending enough time reading privacy statements, and frankly, even the most astute consumers probably have a challenge in doing so, then the question becomes, is there a need for some other form of consumer information and choice? One suggestion is a form of icon or certification, A, B, C. This is the level of privacy protection that you'll get with a particular website. Another suggestion is a mandate by the government of specific disclosure and consumer consent processes. Those are probably the most restrictive of the forms. And then you mentioned do not track. That idea is to put in the hands of consumers, just like the do not call telephone registry system, to put in the hands of consumers the ability to say, I don't want to receive internet-based advertising based on my activity. That presents some technological problems, but it's another solution that's been proposed as well.
So you said at the end of 2010, there was a lot of activity in terms of the federal government for coming up with regulatory issues, and there's stuff that's with Congress right now. Can you tell me what was happening at the end of 2010 and what's in the hands of Congress now in 2011?
Right. So in 2010, we saw two major reports, one from the FTC and one from the Department of Commerce. FTC spent the better part of a year conducting hearings in various locations, hearing from experts and consumer advocates. The Department of Commerce had a slightly more compressed schedule, but similarly took a broad view on inquiry about potential solutions. And both of them essentially said, look, the notice and consent system that we have now may be inadequate in the sense that consumers do have a lot of trouble managing to pierce the significance of privacy policies on the internet, managing to actually pay attention to them, and there may be a need for some better forms of solutions. Both the reports actually came out with a series of recommendations trying to build privacy into the system of commercial operation in substance. At the same time, there were several legislative hearings at the federal congressional level, and there was a set of legislative proposals. Those died as a result of the ending of the 2010 Congress, but they've been resuscitated in 2011. And we now have pending in Congress a couple of specific legislative proposals that essentially aim at developing something like a privacy Bill of Rights for consumers. The specific form of those protections is very much a matter for congressional debate.